Hi, welcome to this short video on inequalities and plotting inequalities on a number line. This video really tries to break down a typical GCSE question into two parts. The first part is identifying the values of x in an inequality, and secondly, how to plot those inequalities on a number line. It's the sort of thing you'd see in a GCSE foundation level question paper, and it tends to be a kind of grade 4 level question. So the first thing you really need to know is understanding the inequality symbols. You've got a less than symbol, a greater than symbol, a less than or equal to symbol, and a greater than or equal to symbol. And you really need to understand these four symbols. There's no shortcut, there's no getting way around it. So it's one of those things you're just going to have to revise, you're just going to have to learn. Okay, so let's look at a typical GCSE type question. It says list 5 numbers or integers for this inequality. Now, you need to be able to read the inequality, and in this case it says 8 is greater than x. So all the values of x are going to be less than 8. Okay, so let's list 5 numbers, integers, for this inequality. They could be 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and so on. Let's just quickly double check that. Let's substitute those numbers into x to make sure the inequality reads correctly. So 8 is greater than 7, 8 is greater than 6, 8 is greater than 5, 8 is greater than 4, and 8 is greater than 3, and so on. So yes, we now know that the 5 values that we put forward answer this question correctly. Let's look at this inequality. It looks the same, but there is a subtle difference. 8 is less than x, so therefore all the values of x must be greater than 8. So let's list the first 5 numbers in this inequality. It could be 9, 10, 11 and 12. And just to double check, let's substitute the numbers into x. 8 is less than 9, 8 is less than 10, 8 is less than 11, and so on. So you can see that the numbers that we've given do indeed satisfy that inequality. Now let's add another layer into an inequality. So here we've got 3 is less than x, x is less than 10. And notice I've broken it into 2 short sentences. 3 is less than x, x is less than 10. Let's have a look at this next inequality and just think to yourself, how could you read this inequality? Okay, it's 8 is less than x, x is less than 12. Now we've been asked to list all the values of x that satisfy that inequality. So all the values of x must be either greater than 8 and less than 12. Greater than 8, less than 12. So they're going to be 9, 10 and 11. And let's just read that back to ourselves to make sure it makes sense. So 8 is less than 9, 9 is less than 12. 8 is less than 10, 10 is less than 12. 8 is less than 11, 11 is less than 12. So we've made sure that the numbers that we've put down as our answer do indeed satisfy that inequality. And finally, let's look at this similar but subtly different inequality. Let's read it out firstly. We've got 8 is less than x, x is less than or equal to 12. So let's list all the values of x that satisfy this inequality. Well, it's going to be 9, 10, 11, and in this case also includes 12. And let's just read back the last one to ourselves to make sure it makes sense. So let's substitute 12 into x. So therefore 8 is less than 12, yes, and 12 is less than or equal to 12. So our inequalities, the numbers that we've given as our answer, do indeed satisfy that inequality. Now that would typically be the first part of a GCSE inequalities question that you'd be expected to answer. The next part would be to be able to plot these inequalities on a number line. Now to be able to do that, you must remember the first golden rule of representing inequalities on a number line, and that's to be able to understand the difference between a fully coloured in circle and an open circle. An open circle represents numbers that are greater than or less than, and a closed circle represents numbers that are greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. And again, it's one of these things, there are no shortcuts, you've just got to remember that. You've got to revise it to be able to answer this question correctly. So now let's give you an example of a plotted inequality on a number line. We've got -5 is less than x, x is less than or equal to 3. So on the number line, I've merely put 2 dots above -5 and 3. And in this case, I've coloured in the dot above the 3 since it represents that all the values of x are either less than or equal to 3. I've left the -5 as a hollow dot. So I've got a hollow dot above the -5, I've got a coloured in dot above the 3, and all I've got to do now is draw a line between the two dots, and they represent all the values of x to satisfy that inequality. So let's look at another one. We've got -4 is less than x. X is less than or equal to 2. And I've started off by drawing a hollow dot above the -4, and I'm going to leave it like that. Now let's think about where we're going to place the next dot. Well, we're going to place it above the 2, we know that much. And this time we're going to colour it in simply because it's less than or equal to. So the way to think of it is, if there is more to read in the inequality, there's more to do for the dot. So in this case, we're going to have to colour in the dot. So now I've created the two dots. All I've got to do again is draw that line to join the two dots together. And that line represents all the values of x. And that's really it. The inequalities questions on exam paper are some of the easier ones to do. They tend to be in the first half of the foundation paper, and there's some good marks on offer. It tends to be either 3 to 4 marks in your GCSE exam. I trust this video has been really useful. If you like it, subscribe. There's lots more free maths tuition help that I've posted online. Best of luck.